Hi everyone, my name is Hannah, and in this video I'm going to show you how to run CellTracksColab with your local Jupyter installation. For this to work, you need to have the CellTracksColab folder downloaded from our GitHub page, and you'll need Anaconda installed on your machine. It's also helpful to have our wiki page open. On our wiki page, you'll have a page that you can navigate to running CellTracksColab locally, and here you have all the information that you need to get started and to run this. So as I just said, under getting started, you need to download the CellTracksColab folder. We have that already, and you have to have Anaconda installed. If you need any instructions on these, there are links here on the page. And then the first step is to install CellTracksColab. So for this, we will need to open Anaconda prompt, which looks like this. And then on this wiki, you will have all the commands that you need that you can just copy by clicking on this little button here and paste into Anaconda prompt to run it there. So the first thing is we need to navigate to the folder that we downloaded. So I'm copying this command, and then in Anaconda prompt, I'll paste it in. Now this is obviously a dummy path, so we can just open our folder, and in Windows, right-click on the address field, copy address as text, and then we're going to delete this dummy path here, keep the CD for change directory, paste the new path to this folder, and then just run by pressing enter. So now you see that we are in this folder. If we go back to the wiki, the next step is to install CellTracksColab. So again, you have the command here, just need to copy it, paste it into the prompt, and run by pressing enter. Now this will take a while, so we're going to skip ahead. Okay, once this is done, and you will see it being done by this statement where Anaconda tells you how to activate it, you can go back to the wiki. Now remember, you only have to install the environment the first time you want to run CellTracksColab. After this, you can skip straight to this part, running CellTracksColab notebooks. You will not need to install it again. So if you want to run the notebooks, if you haven't just installed the environment, you would need to do the same thing, go to the folder, and then activate the environment, which you're going to do now. Again, by copying the command, pasting it into the Anaconda prompt, and run it. And now you have activated the CellTracksColab, which you can see it changed here from base environment to CellTracksColab. Now the only thing left to do is to start Jupyter Lab. Again, you can copy the command here or just type it, and this will start your local Jupyter Lab. Jupyter Lab will open in your default browser, and the page will look something like this, where you have the notebooks here on the left. This is the part where you interact with it. And then, especially for running it locally, please make sure that you can see the log window here at the bottom. It might be kind of hidden away like this, but it's important that you see it because some of the output that is going to be generated by the notebooks will end up here in this log window. So it is important that you see it. You can choose which notebook you want to run. By double-clicking on it, it will open in a new tab here. You can close it again. For the time being, we're going to start with the custom notebook. Again, it'll tell you here in the beginning what you need to know about what software it can work with, the requirements of your data, Here's a little example here how your data should look like, and then importantly, how your data should be organized. Now, because we are locally, we can skip this part here where it says prepare the Google Colab session. So you don't need to install any dependency and you don't need to mount your Google Drive. You can go straight to part 1, prepare the session and load the data. You can run these cells in 2 ways. Either when you click in it, you will see that this blue bar here indicates this is the cell you're working in. You can either press this run button here or press Shift Enter. Both will run the cell. And then in the next cell, you need to compile your data. It will tell you a little bit about the input that you need to give here. So the folder path where your data is stored, your data dimension, the file format, and the results folder. We have provided test data sets. So if you just want to test the notebook, you can use the test data that we provide, but the default, you can see this here, is set to false. So you give your folder path where your data is stored. Again, you can just copy and paste that from your folder. However, make sure if you are on Windows that you change these dashes. By default, they're backslashes, they have to be forward, otherwise the notebook will give you an error. My data is 2-dimensional and the file format is CSV. Once I've put all this in, I can run this cell and you will see here green bar saying when everything is processed, the tracking data is loaded. And the next step, especially for this custom notebook, is to map your data. So given that we can use tracking output from various softwares, they all differ a little bit in how they are named. So for the notebook to run, it'll need a track ID, a position, X, Y, Z, and the time. So we have here given examples of this, but check with your own data and make sure that you know what you have to put in. So if you run this cell here, it will tell you what CellTracksColab currently thinks is your data. So you can see track ID is track ID, that's fine, but position X is T, Y is X, and T is Y, so we need to change this. Now, importantly, if you need to change this, make sure that you change this command here to true. The default is false, so change this to true, and then give it the correct columns to run, and then it will say here columns were named. So now all the information is stored correctly and you can interact with it. If you want to additionally calibrate your data, if, for example, your X and Y is in pixels or the time calibration is not correct, you can run this optional cell here and tell them what the spatial and the time calibrations are. You don't have to, but if you want to change this, you can go this cell here. And then we can start interacting with our data. So visualizing the tracks, if you run this part, it will show you the tracks that you have uploaded. In my very small data set, I only have 2. But you can interact through this drop-down menu and see the tracks that you have uploaded. If you run the next cell, all of these tracks will be saved in the results folder that you've given. Now, you can see already in this cell, and there are a couple of cells like this, where the first command is display plots equals false. So if we change this to true, it will display all the plots that it's saving. Now for this data set, it's fine, it's only 2 plots. If you want to see what is being saved, change this. However, especially if you have large data sets, be a little bit careful because it can take some time. And then you can just continue interacting with the notebook by running each cell. Now I'm going to show you a few things that are unique to running these notebooks locally. So one thing that I've mentioned earlier is the log window. So this is one of those cases here where you run the cell, it will give you this button here where you select whether you want to continue with your raw data or the data that you've smoothed and filtered. Now, if I select smooth and filtered and click select, you can see that the output, the statement that the analysis will be performed on the filtered data gets printed in this log window. So if I don't have this open and I'll press select, I think that nothing happens. So then if you press the button, you don't see anything happening, check your log window. The statement is going to be printed here. So another of these examples is here, it's part 5.2, where if you run this cell, it will give you a lot of options at the bottom of what you want to visualize. And again, if you click this button here, you can see that the plots that are being generated output into the log window. So just keep that in mind. If there is a button that you click and nothing happened, check your log window. Okay, so that was the video on how to run the CellTracksColab locally. If you have any questions or run into any problems, let us know and we'll try to help.